I'll open the floor for comments.
So, after reading Mr. Ratzner's letter.
They said, raise your hand. Sit down because there are seats.
Okay. Hi, I just wanted to say that after reading your, Mr. Ratzner's, your notes.
Oh,
Yes, I wanted to just make a comment.
sure.
That, first of all, the budget was reached after numerous amounts of meetings, the BEA meetings, which were open to the public. And I really wish that all of you that you have different opinion were present to those to understand how we ended up with these numbers. I'm not part of the BEA, but
I understand.
it was me and Margaret that were part of it, that were listening to it. Heather has done an incredible job working with the figures and giving us the best outcome. So did the mayor and the president. What we have to understand is that the city of Hudson, you cannot compare just budgets,
Understand.
one city to another, okay?
Correct.
None of these cities made the top #1 choice of New Yorkers to move up here during COVID. It was just Hudson. Hudson is developing, the way I see it, is a developing city. It's not developed yet. It has been neglected for years. It has been from infrastructure, from parks, from so many things that have not been done. Now, if you want, I mean, in a way, if you want to have a return on your investment, you have to make the investment here. So the city looks nice, so that it attracts people and your real estate is worth something. The minute that you neglect the city, it becomes depressed. The minute it becomes depressed, you lose your value. That's when it's going to hurt you more.
Correct.
Now, although we could have a lot of cuts and you know, different administration can handle things in a different way. What you all have to understand that every time you, the people, ask for things. Let me give you an example. You want sidewalks, that costs money. You want, there was a shooting at out by the Mayfair area. You want cameras all around. You want safety, public safety.
Correct.
That the retirement alone of resources costs a lot. Infrastructure costs a lot. You know, all the parks that you want all
Of course.
people. The other thing is the library. You know, if this is a budget where it goes from 100,000 to 50,000, that comes out of our taxes. So you all vote for this. And I feel it's a little bit unfair, you know, to be so much criticism, and especially towards Treasury, which they are doing an incredible job. And we're doing as much as we can, but we also have from lawsuits, from anything, you know, coming to the city. And at the same time, trying to beautify it and, you know, bring justice here and also, you know, be able to accommodate all the tourists so they keep coming. But even just, you know, improving the parking system, that costs money.
It's costly.
And that was never done. These were not done for years. So I just want to say that, and that is not political. I'm not actually the way I am. I don't go from one party to another party or any administration. I just want to say that things were very dated and we're just doing our best to make it better. And that's all.
Okay. So Councilmember Desalegn refers to a document that I submitted to all members of Common Council and to our elected officials. I have that document here, so I can give it to the audience so you don't bring you up to speed on what we're talking about here. So can I address the group now for what I prepared for this evening?
Yes, state your name.
Your Honor, thank you.
For the record.
Just 2 points. this meeting is mandated in chapter 16, paragraph 3 of the city charter. This is mandated, this meeting. It's also mandated in there that everybody that came to the BEA, department heads, et cetera, and asked for money, be at this meeting. They're not here. Like, if you're here, but it means everybody. The idea of that is so the voters can ask those department heads questions.
I think everybody's,
Well, that would be a lot of people. Nonetheless, my notes for this. One of the best means for identifying improvement opportunities in the city's budget is a process called benchmarking. That's not new. It was a major study done of 115 cities some years back. It proved very productive. The reason you do this is quite simple. By comparing the operating performance metrics of a large sample of similarly situated cities, there's a good chance you can surface examples of highly efficient operating environments in specific service areas. At the very least, these examples can help management set performance targets. To get this process started for my own research, I needed two sets of data: the population of the city and the budget for the city. Fortunately, those things are all available online with a bit of persistence. I limited my search to the 62 cities in the state of New York. From that list, I took a sample of 10 cities with a population of less than 10,000. Average population of those 10 cities, 6,600 people. Average budget, $13.8 million. Average cost per person, $2,091. Averages are misleading. So I took a second pass of the data. Hudson, 5,774 people in the 2023 census, and a proposed budget in front of you of $19.7 million works out to be $3,400 per person. That, in the list of 10, puts us in first place by more than $1,000 per person than the second place city, Johnstown, New York. I then looked at all 62 cities and found that only 6 cities in the entire state were greater per person budget than Hudson. With this in hand, which I provided to all of our elected leaders, the real work should begin. Benchmarking doesn't stop with the whole budget. The department head should benchmark looking at those 62 cities. How much are the cities spending on police protection? How much are they public? Those would help us establish goals. And when you found somebody doing it for much more economical numbers, you dig into that. How do they do that? There would be things to learn from that. Certainly there's things we're doing better than others, but it adds up to a big number. The question is, why are some cities able to succeed with a much lower burden on the taxpayers? I'm asking Common Council to dig into that question. Our budget has increased $1 million per year for 5 years. That adds up to $15 million over that time period. We should ask ourselves, where did that money go? Are our lives better for it? How has the money improved life for 5,774 people? Or, as was asked frequently on the national stage in recent months, you feel better now than you did 5 years ago about where you live? Thanks for listening. If anybody would like a set of the data, I've got it here for
I love it.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
yeah, I think that you're,
So Bob, quick question, well, maybe not so quick. Drilling down past the big numbers, did you see any particular buckets that stood out that put us, a percentage above, the average?
I didn't go farther than the whole budget number. Then it would be really revealing to now look at departments. And the healthy thing about this is the state mandates uniform reporting from all the cities. So the budget, as it looks online for us, for Johnstown, for Poughkeepsie, they're all the same. So it's pretty easy to run down and take a look at that. Would it be easy to look at it for every department? Not for one person, that would be a several-day project. But it would be, I think, revealing. And perhaps we could go to school on what other cities are doing well, faster, cheaper, et cetera.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not when IBM did this exact study on 115 cities, they came up with some very revealing answers on what drives cities to be more economical. And I can send that article off if you like. That's what
I'd love to see it.
I want to open the floor up to others as well.
Mr. Mayor, Bob asked a question.
Mhm.
Could we ask the audience to respond? And the question was, what, do you feel better about Hudson than you did 5 years ago? I'd love to get a response.
No,
You're asking me, or you said the audience?
I'd love to ask the audience personally.
Well, the audience should respond. I think.
I agree, that's okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, I think it's better.
all those that think it's better? No.
The answer is the $15 million.
I don't think that's
a
a fair way to do a poll. I think that's,
It's a random thing, I just wanted to see what.
I think that were you better before is the kind of thing that Trump has been using to say that they use it,
I agree.
view his stuff, and I think that's not a fair way to pose a question and propose. I mean, if you have specific budget cuts, what are they? What do you want cut? What department went too high?
I'm suggesting one would go through the research to figure that out. No,
Pretty
pretty
easy
easy
to
to look
read.
at how it compares to other cities. I am not going to pick apart the hard work of the BPA. That's unfair for my only knowing this city. It would certainly be interesting to look at how other cities, what they've come up with.
Absolutely.
And have they come up with some answers we haven't? I bet they have, and I bet we have. It would just be, I think, a revealing study, and not so hard to come about with.
All right, I want to open the floor up to others. State your name and.
Crystal Hines, Fitchburg resident. There's a perception that Hudson is an expensive city to live in, and I think part of that is the taxes here are expensive. It seems like there are ways that the city might be able to get some participation from other municipalities and maybe even the county. Things like the youth department that's shared, the library, I know that Green Court's contribution to the library isn't that big. But if we want to, this feels like most of the burden here falls on the middle class. And if we want this to be a healthy, thriving community, we need to make sure that the middle class can actually afford to live here. And taxes have are a big factor in housing expenses, rentals, as Alderwoman Galudi said, a lot of us bought properties here that needed a significant amount of investment to them. So it is an expensive place to live, and it would be helpful if we could find ways to make the tax burden not so onerous on those that live here and work here and want this to be a thriving community, but struggle with the costs of things.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nicole Vidor, and I live in Hudson on Allen Street. And I would, I would agree with what Crystal said. I'm a broker, so this is what I deal with every day, right? And it is getting to the point now where if you're a middle-class person, you cannot live here because the taxes keep going up, all of the services keep going up, and we are the ones that are carrying the brunt of the burden. The people that are not as fortunate are taking care of it. The very wealthy can absolutely take care of themselves. But the people here that are just normal working people It's getting to the point where we're gonna end up in a city where it's very rich and very poor. And a specific example, my neighbors who have lived in their house for 60 years, like many people on my particular block, they have to leave now because they transferred their title and their house was reassessed at $750,000. I'm selling that house now, and there's no way they can come anywhere near $750,000. For 60 years, those people paid taxes in this city and supported the city before it was so high and glitzy. And now you're saying, too bad, dogs, get out. We don't need you now. We have the rich people and they're gonna take care of it. It doesn't work that way. That's not how a community works. I cried then when I had to talk to these guys about selling. I love my neighbors. I love them all and they mean a lot to me. And I think they mean a lot to this city. And I think, you know, I came to see you about it, Mayor Johnson. And Mayor Johnson said, I hear that every day, Nicole. Well, if you hear that every day, then do something about it. You know, it's like you just said, darling, Vicki, you just said, you know, we have to like keep the city, you know, like up, man, for all the tourism. Who is carrying that? I am. All of us are. And it's too much. It's too much. So there are all sorts of creative ways that cities have taken care of things like this. They set up land trusts. They set up all sorts of things because they care about their residents. Who's going to take care of all the infrastructure for all of the housing they're building now? Where is the daycare? Where is the senior care? Where's the hospital? Where are the clinics? Where are the grocery stores? How are these people going to live here? We don't have any infrastructure for them. It's like, anyway, I feel very strongly that the city has to address the imbalance because it's getting really, really serious. And I wish that you would, when you're doing things about rents and things like that, that you'd ask brokers to come and sit with you and really tell you from the street what's happening with your real estate here. And I'd love to know where the rest of the council is.
I'd like to comment.
This is not a council hearing.
Well, aren't they members of the city and don't they care about how people feel about it?
I didn't know you were there. I'd like to.
Logan, sorry, Logan, I raised my hand. Yeah, if I may I just want to address Nicole.
Yeah, Margaret, she mentioned my name. I would like to.
Yeah, so Nicole, Vicki, can you hear me?
I will go to you. Can you hear me, Margaret?
Yes, I can hear. Vicki and I,
I'm gonna let Vicki finish her statement because she was addressed directly, and then I'm going to go to you.
okay, thank you.
I definitely empathize with you. I'm on the same board with you too. I just want to make that clear. I did not make, my comment was not we need to beautify the city for the tourists. What I'm trying to say is we want to keep the status of our city for return or on investment. Your house works more if the city stays, if we have the status quo and we don't become depressed.
It's not worth more than if I can't pay the taxes to stay here. What does it mean to me?
But all the houses went up. Let me just give you an example. The eggs, we heard about it during this elections, okay? 2019, they were $2.36. It's doubled now. Everything has gone up. From all these insurances we pay for employees, everything has gone up. I wish we didn't have to pay that. I paid for 2 houses, okay? And it's very hard for me too. And I don't want to do that. Definitely I don't. But we should be having, if you know real estate well, you know that at some point your home works more if the city stays at some level. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely, but at the same time, you know, that's the future. I'm living in the present. And the present is not being addressed.
In that case, we probably, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's ideally.
And I think part of it, Vicky, is that the assessment process
Mhm.
is really askew. I could take you on my street and I could show you a building that's assessed at $90,000, that's worth $2 million. And I could show you a building that's assessed at $750, that's not worth more than $500,000. It's not a fair system. It really isn't. And that has to be addressed. Because people that, like the people next door to me, they haven't gutted their building and put in marble countertops. They're living just like normal people. Nothing's happened to that house. But they're being taxed the same price as somebody who is really lives in a very desirable house that they can get that money for. So I think it's something really has to be addressed. It's really askew. And I'd be happy to show that to you. I'd be happy to go through all the tax records and show you how imbalanced and unfair it is.
I'll go down to Councilman Morris, who has been waiting.
Yes, I just want to, Nicole, I just want to thank you for attending. I wanted to respond. Vicky and I attended most of the BEA meetings. I had intended to be there this evening in person. However, due to illness, I'm having to attend remotely. But many of the points that you make resonate with me, particularly. The one concern that I really have is what you honed in on, which is increasingly we are becoming a city for the very wealthy and the very poor, and that is not a sustainable community. And it is the very people that you are talking about in the I've only lived here for 15 years, but I have seen the same pattern, and I think it is very alarming.
Thanks, Robert.
Any other?
I'll just add one other comment, Crystal Hines. The BEA meetings would be really easier for the public to participate in if they weren't during the working hours. A lot of us have kind of 9-to-5 jobs, and it's not really easy to sneak away for an hour or two during the work week to attend those meetings. So, I mean, if you wanted to increase public participation, I would say have those meetings after hours, and that would make it a lot more viable for the public to actually attend.
Thank you for your comment. Any other?
Yeah, Bill, on that one.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'd like to make one comment, and I'll ask my question first, and then I can make a comment, observation. Maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was at the same meeting, I heard Hillary Hillman ask you, Mayor, why there wasn't any room in the following year's budget for a Parks Department to be created. And I remember what you said. You said, well, we're working on it and it'll happen next year. I think that was 4 years ago. I guess I'd like to ask you, because I'm afraid I haven't been paying attention to all the budget meetings. And are we going to have a Parks Department next year?
I don't know about next year, but the hopes are that we will have a Parks Department. So we are working on behind the scenes on getting that done, yes.
Presumably, as you've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years?
I'm not as young as I used to be. I don't remember what I said 4 years ago, but that is still a plan.
And that, I'm sorry, so is that, who's working on it, I guess? Is that you along with whom?
Bill already answered your question. If there's any other questions.
I would think that everybody be interested to know. Hey,
That's budget related.
yeah.
Please.
My sense is that the Department of Public Works is the most wasteful department in the entire city. It's either that or the Hudson Police Department, the two biggest budgets in town. And I'm going to give you one example. And I think that when we start throwing around numbers with so many zeros on them, we lose track of the fact that if you're not saving your pennies and quarters, you're really headed in the wrong direction, right? If you're not watching your quarters, you're going to start, the zeros will start to add up, right? And then you're talking about millions of dollars, and then you sort of lose track of what the real problems are. I'd like to make one example of pennies and nickels being wasted constantly. When the DPW puts up their temporary no parking signs for events on our streets and sidewalks to close them down, they attach the signs to poles and trees and other things with plastic zip ties that are approximately 16 inches long and cost, a fact that I know, cost about 18 cents a piece. Some of the signs require 3 18-cent zip ties to tie the sign for a day or two before the zip ties are broken and thrown away. Now, considering the fact that sometimes the DPW puts up dozens, if not hundreds, of over 100 signs for events, starts to add up, doesn't it? Now, you can say, well, maybe there's nothing we can do. We have to use zip ties all the time, 18-cent zip ties or 15-cent zip ties that are disposable and that we pay for every time there's a no parking sign that goes up. And what I think the city needs to do is take a serious look at its expenses at like the lower levels, like the zip ties and the blue plastic bags that everybody has to buy. Why are we paying 2 people to fold plastic bags at City Hall? Part-time workers. So unnecessary, it seems to me. And at the risk of sounding like somebody who's, all for hiring consultants for the city, which I'm not, I think it's time for the city to hire an auditor to take a good look at where the city is spending money and where it is wasting money, such as 18-cent zip ties, when you could find something that is reusable, that might cost a little more, but in the long run will save us money. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Your comment has been added to the record. Any others? There being no further comments, I declare this public hearing closed.